Hello all, this is SANDEEP Kumar and I welcome you back to my YouTube channel Concepts of IIT Maths. In today's video, we will discuss about few formulae on sin inverse x and sin inverse y. So what is it? We will see what is sin inverse x plus sin inverse y, different formulae on different conditions, and at the same time we will look at what is sin inverse x minus sin inverse y, and then we will discuss some problems. Okay, so if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe and watch the entire video to have a clear concept on this particular topic. First we will see what is sin inverse x plus sin inverse y. First let us understand this. If x and y belongs to 0, 1, close the bracket 0, 1, then sin inverse x plus sin inverse y is equal to sin inverse of x into root over 1 minus y square plus y into root over 1 minus x square. And but remember this, it is equal to this particular formula if and only if x square plus y square is less than or equal to 1. And what if x square plus y square is greater than 1? Then sin inverse x plus sin inverse y is equal to pi minus sin inverse of x into root over 1 minus y square plus y into root over 1 minus x square. So first of all, let us see how to prove this, and after this we will learn how to prove sin inverse x minus sin inverse y. Okay, so first of all, let me take sin inverse x equal to alpha and sin inverse y is equal to beta. So it is very clear that x belongs to 0, 1. X is between 0 and 1. So I can take the sin inverse to the right side and say x is equal to sin alpha, and here also y is equal to sin beta. And understand one thing, dear students, if x is between 0 and 1, clearly x is positive, then alpha must be between 0 and pi by 2. Alpha is in first quadrant. And similarly, if y is between 0 and 1, then beta also is also between 0 and pi by 2. So from this, I am going to find what is alpha plus beta. Why we are finding alpha plus beta means the question is about alpha plus beta. Okay na? So alpha plus beta, if I add 0 plus 0 is 0, pi by 2 plus pi by 2 is pi. So observe that alpha plus beta is between 0 and pi. Okay. Now, if the question is alpha plus beta, let me find sin of alpha plus beta. So now, sin of alpha plus beta is very simple formula: sin alpha cos beta plus cos alpha sin beta. So sin alpha is x. Please observe one thing: if sin beta is y, from trigonometry, if sin beta is y, then from trigonometry cos beta is root of 1 minus y square. Similarly, if sin alpha is x, then cos alpha will be root of 1 minus x square into sin beta is y. So sin of alpha plus beta is equal. Now the decision making step from here on. Please understand one thing. I can take sin to the right side and I can write sin inverse only when alpha plus beta is in the restricted domain of sin function. The restricted domain of sin function is between minus pi by 2, pi by 2. So if you have seen my previous videos, you will have a clarity of what I am trying to say here. If alpha plus beta is in the restricted domain of sin function, then I can take sin to the right side. But observe that alpha plus beta is between 0 and pi. It is not in the restricted domain of sin function. And that's why I cannot take sin to the right side freely. This is the reason why we are having two different cases. So now remember this, from here on we will go in two different cases. Case 1 is when x square plus y square is less than or equal to 1. So let us see what happens if x square plus y square is less than or equal to 1. So case 1, if x square plus y square is less than or equal to 1. So already I have told that x is sin alpha, so sin square alpha, plus y is sin beta, so sin square beta, less than or equal to 1. Take sin square beta to the right side, 1 minus sin square beta. So sin square alpha less than or equal to 1 minus sin square beta is cos square beta. So according to the introduction in the question, alpha is between 0 and pi by 2, beta is also between 0 and pi by 2, which means alpha and beta both are in first quadrants. So if alpha is in first quadrant, then sin alpha is positive number. And similarly, beta is in first quadrant, cos beta is also positive number. So it is positive number square less than or equal to positive number square. I can ignore squares on both sides because sin alpha and cos beta both are positive numbers only. So sin alpha less than or equal to cos beta. Next, sin alpha as it is less than or equal to cos beta can be written as sin of 90 minus beta. Observe one thing, alpha is in first quadrant. Alpha is a first quadrant angle and beta is first quadrant angle. If beta is first quadrant angle, then 90 minus beta is also first quadrant angle. What I am trying to say is, if beta is acute, then 90 minus beta is also acute only. Na? So I am trying to say that alpha is acute angle, 90 minus beta is also acute angle. So alpha is present in first quadrant, 90 minus beta is also an angle in first quadrant. In first quadrant, sine is an increasing function. If you have seen the graph of sine between 0 and pi by 2, sine is an increasing function. So if sine is an increasing function, I can ignore sine on both sides, and what I can say? If sine is an increasing function, I can ignore sine on both sides, and I can say that alpha is less than or equal to 90 minus beta. And take minus beta to the left side, alpha plus beta less than or equal to 90. Now please observe, already alpha plus beta is between 0 and pi, and now we have understood that in case 1, if x square plus y square is less than or equal to 1, then alpha plus beta is less than or equal to pi by 2. So from this we can conclude that alpha plus beta is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to pi by 2. What is the use of it means? Now I can go to the first equation that I have written before, erasing. So what is the first equation? So this is the first equation. Sin of alpha plus beta is equal to x into root of 1 minus y square plus y into root of 1 minus x square. And I told you that sin will go to the right side only when alpha plus beta is in the restricted domain of sine function. And please observe, alpha plus beta is between 0 and 90. That means it is in the restricted domain of sine function. So take sine to the right side. Alpha plus beta is equal to sine to the right side, it becomes sine inverse. X into root of 1 minus y square plus y into root of 1 minus x square. And alpha means sine inverse x and beta means sine inverse y. So it is equal to sine inverse of x into root of 1 minus y square plus y into root of 1 minus x. Therefore, if x square plus y square is less than or equal to 1, then sine inverse x plus sine inverse y is equal to this. And now we are supposed to prove the second case. Case 2, when x square plus y square is greater than 1, we are supposed to prove that sine inverse x plus sine inverse y is this. Okay. Now let us look at case 2. Case 2 is when x square plus y square is greater than 1. In this case, y square greater than 1 minus x square, and same process as I have done before. Y is sin beta, so sin square beta greater than 1 minus x is sin alpha, so sin square alpha. Sin square beta greater than, this is cos square alpha. Since beta and alpha are first quadrant angles, sin beta is positive, cos alpha is also positive. Therefore, no need of squares, I can say sin beta greater than cos alpha. And cos alpha means sin of 90 minus alpha. Since beta and 90 minus alpha are acute angles, sine is increasing function. Okay na? When the angles are between 0 and 90, so I can ignore sine on both sides, and we get beta greater than 90 minus alpha, and take minus alpha this side, alpha plus beta greater than 90. So therefore, but already alpha plus beta is between 0 and 2. So now it is observed that alpha plus beta is greater than 90 na. So therefore we say that alpha plus beta is between 90 and 180. Now what I am going to do is, because the question is about sine, please observe in the previous videos also I told you, if it is about sine, go to second quadrant. In second quadrant the angle is pi minus theta. If it is tan, go to third quadrant. In third quadrant you can take pi plus theta. In third quadrant you can take pi plus theta, or you can also take theta minus pi. You take pi plus theta in third quadrant, and in fourth quadrant it is minus theta. Okay na, this is guaranteed. In second quadrant, since it is about sine, we will take pi minus theta. If it is about tan or cot, we will take pi plus theta. If it is about cos, then we will take cos, or sec means we will take minus theta. Okay na, the question is about sine. Let me see what is pi minus theta. That means if you take alpha plus beta as theta, we have to find what is pi minus theta. That means pi minus of alpha plus beta. So multiply with minus on both, minus, then this plus pi will come this side, minus pi, and plus pi by 2 goes that side, minus pi by 2, and inequalities also will come this way. This is minus of alpha plus beta. I multiplied with minus on both sides, I mean in all three. Then I have added pi. When I added pi minus pi 0. Here I have added pi minus pi by 2 is pi by 2. So therefore pi minus of alpha plus beta is between 0 and pi by 2. Let us come back to the first equation. So what is the first equation? The first equation says that sine of alpha plus beta is equal to x into root of 1 minus y square plus y into root of 1 minus x square. Now I can write sine of alpha plus beta as sine of 180 minus of alpha plus beta. And observe that this is in the restricted domain of the sine function. So now sine is ready to fly to the right side. Pi minus of alpha plus beta is equal to sine inverse of x into root of 1 minus y square plus y into root of 1 minus x square. Take minus of alpha plus beta to the right side and take sine inverse of to the left side. You will get pi minus sine inverse of x into root of 1 minus y square plus y into root of 1 minus x square is equal to minus of alpha plus beta come to the right side, it becomes alpha plus beta. Alpha means sine inverse x plus beta means sine inverse. So therefore we have proved the second case also that if x square plus y square is greater than 1, then sine inverse x plus sine inverse y is equal to pi minus sine inverse of. Okay, so two possibilities are there, sine inverse x plus sine inverse y. If this condition is satisfied, you take this, and if this condition is satisfied, you take this. Okay, similarly let us also see how to prove sine inverse x minus sine inverse y. Please, one thing you have to understand, if you understand the proof of this particular thing, you will easily understand all the remaining proofs. That means what? You will understand the proof of sine inverse x minus sine inverse y. You will understand the proof of cos inverse x plus cos inverse y. You will also understand the proof of cos inverse x minus cos inverse y. Please observe this. Okay, so anyhow I'll erase this. Now this is sine inverse x minus sine inverse y formula. Here we don't have two different answers. Here we have only single answer. Remember, if x and y both are positive, that means if x comma y is between 0 comma 1, then sine inverse x minus sine inverse y is equal to this. Here we don't have different conditions or different answers, just one formula. Okay na? Just like how I proved sine inverse x plus sine inverse y, same method only. So what is step 1? We will take sine inverse x is equal to alpha, that means x is equal to sine alpha. Next, sine inverse y is equal to beta, so y is equal to sine beta. And please observe that x is between 0 comma 1, therefore alpha is between 0 and 90. Similarly, y is also between 0 and 1, so beta is also between 0 and 90. If x is between 0 and 1, alpha is between 0 and 90. Same thing here also. Okay, now in this question we are going to find alpha minus beta. So here also what I will do, let me find alpha minus beta. And under inequalities, while we are adding, I will add 0 plus 0, I will write here. 90 plus 90, I will write here. But when I am subtracting, what I should do means, I should take minimum minus maximum. Okay, here minimum minus here maximum. That means 0 minus 5 by 2. That will come here. And what will come here means the maximum minus minimum. That means 90 minus 0. So therefore, alpha minus beta is between minus 90 and plus 90. Now come to the question. I should find what is alpha minus beta. I should find what is alpha minus beta. In the right side we have sine inverse. So that's why let me find what is sine of alpha minus beta. So sine of alpha minus beta is sine alpha cos beta minus cos alpha sine beta. So sine alpha is x, and if sine beta is y, then cos beta is root of 1 minus y square. Similarly, if sine alpha is x, then cos alpha is root of 1 minus x square into sine beta is y. Please observe one thing, dear students. In the previous formula we had two cases, but in this formula alpha minus beta is between minus 90 and plus 90. It is already, alpha minus beta is already in restricted domain of sine function. It is already in restricted domain of sine function. So that's why we don't have any other cases. Sine is ready to fly to the right side. Then what happens? Alpha minus beta is equal to sine inverse of x into root of 1 minus y square minus y into root of 1 minus x square. And alpha means what here? Alpha means sine inverse x, beta means sine inverse y. Substitute. So sine inverse x minus sine inverse y is equal to sine inverse of x into root of 1 minus y square minus y into root of 1 minus x. So I hope you understood the proof. Okay, so we have seen what is sine inverse x plus sine inverse y in terms of sine inverse. We have seen what is sine inverse x minus sine inverse y in terms of sine inverse. I will give you two formulae. I want you to try the proof. You got it? I want you to prove it. If you have got the correct answer, it means that you have got very good clarity on this particular topic. Okay na? So same like this, I will give you two more. You prove it yourself. Okay na? Yes. I have proved that sine inverse x plus sine inverse y is equal to sine inverse of something. Okay na? And sine inverse x minus sine inverse y is equal to sine inverse of something. And I want you to prove this. Prove that sine inverse x plus sine inverse y is equal to cos inverse of. Okay na? And similarly sine inverse x minus sine inverse y is equal to. Please observe, here we don't have two different formulae. We have only single formula. Okay na? You will easily understand. You will try to solve it, you will get the answer. And here we have two different formula. That means what? If x is greater than or equal to y, you should take this formula, and if x is less than y, you should take this formula. Okay, if you have understood the previous proofs, you do this and you let me know in the comment section so whether you have got the answers for these proofs or not. Okay na? So we will solve one or two problems based on sine inverse x plus sine inverse y, and then we will wind it off. Here is a question. We have to prove that sine inverse 4 by 5 plus sine inverse 5 by 13 plus sine inverse 16 by 25 is equal to 90. Okay na? So let us see how to prove it. We will go for the proof, and before finding what is sine inverse 4 by 5 plus sine inverse 5 by 13, you can take x as 4 by 5 and y as 5 by 13. Try to find what is x square plus y square. That means 4 by 5 whole square plus 5 by 13 whole square. You get 16 by 25 plus 25 by 169. Okay, 16 by 25 plus 25 by 169. Just check whether this value is less than 1 or greater than 1. So if you try to check whether its value is less than 1 or greater than 1, 16 by 25. you will get 0.64 and 25 by 169. If you calculate 25 by 169, you will get 0.14. Okay, now clearly the value is less than 1. So x square plus y square is less than 1. So then we can say that sin inverse x plus sin inverse y is equal to sin inverse of x into root of 1 minus y square plus y into root of 1 minus x square. See, the problem in this particular chapter is that students will always overlook the formula. They will always write sin inverse x plus sin inverse y is equal to this without checking the condition, whether it is less than 1 or greater than 1. So conditions are very, very important. Keep this in mind. Okay. So now let me find what is sin inverse of 4 by 5 plus sin inverse of 5 by 30. That means sin inverse of 4 by 5 into root of 1 minus y square. That means 5 by 13 whole square plus y into, that means 5 by 13 into under root 1 minus x square. X square means 4 by 5 whole square. So if you simplify this, sin inverse of 4 by 5 into, this will be 12 by 13 plus 5 by 13 into, this will be 3 by 5. We get sin inverse of 63 by 64. So we get sin inverse of 63 by 64. Therefore, the sum of the first two, okay, the sum of the first two, the sum of the first two is sin inverse of 63 by 64. Okay, now plus what is it? Sin inverse of 16 by 64. Now, if I convert sin inverse to cos inverse, so we will go to the right angle triangle, opposite by hypotenuse, 63, 65. Apply Pythagoras theorem and find the adjacent side. How do you do it? So square root of 65 square minus 63 square. If you do it, you get 16 here. Okay, now. So cos inverse, sin inverse of opposite by hypotenuse is same as cos inverse of adjacent by hypotenuse. And we know that cos inverse x plus sin inverse x is equal to pi by 2, which is RHS. So this is how we can solve this problem. We will see lot of problems based on the subtopics later in upcoming videos. But here I am particularly concentrating on concepts and its basic application. Okay, now, so in this video we have seen the properties of sin inverse x plus sin inverse y and sin inverse x minus sin inverse y. In the next video we will see what is cos inverse x plus cos inverse y, cos inverse x minus cos inverse y, and then we will completely concentrate on problems from inverse trigonometry. So that's it for in this particular video. So if you understood the concept, do like the video, share it with your friends, and do comment of what you felt about this particular video. So thank you. See you all in the next video.